Welcome, everyone, to episode 142 of the Chris Parrish podcast. My name's Chris Parrish. Welcome. Welcome to the show. I appreciate all of you who are joining in. First things first, let's get through the order. The order of who is responsible for this show. That's right. You see, from left to right, W. Go to w.gg and use the code word parish10 at checkout to save yourself 10% on all products. That's right. All you have to do is just hit the code word parish10 and you'll save 10%, regardless of how big the order is. If you go to w.gg, shop whatever you want, just save yourself a little bit of money. We got Turnbuckle Studios right there, right beside it. That's right, home and proud affiliate of the Chris Parrish podcast. That's right, proud member of the Turnbuckle affiliation program that you see over there in that right corner. Go to turnbucklestudios.org for more information. And that's right, Beardcade YEG, the proud partner of the Chris Parrish podcast. Please go check out Beardcade YEG if you're in the Edmonton, Alberta area and you want to go check out some good old entertainment. They do a variety of entertainment, but if it's more on the wrestling side and you want to go check out WWE PLEs or even AEW pay-per-views, go to 105 82nd Ave and check out Beardcade YEG. Let them know that Chris Parrish sent you. And please enjoy the amazing food, the amazing beverages, the great atmosphere, also the arcade games, which are a lot of fun. This is episode 142, Paradigm Shift. You might be wondering, why do I call it Paradigm Shift? Well, I mean, really a paradigm shift is the extreme change of thought, right? And I've been thinking over watching wrestling. I really just have this different appreciation. You know, a lot of people know me through the times I spent in the ring. I haven't been in the ring for a while. So you can easily say that I'm not an active wrestler. So I don't watch the show anymore like I'm an active participant or an active member of the wrestling community, because what I do is I watch it from more of a studying point of view, more of a fan point of view. And I come to appreciate that there is a lot of hate over the simplistic aspects of pro wrestling. There's a lot of tribalism. We're all aware of that. So I watch WWE primarily. Why? Because it's what I normally just watch. I don't have cable. I don't have TSN in Canada where AEW is on. So therefore, I cannot watch AEW. Do I dislike it? Absolutely not. In fact, go to Beardcade YEG, as I'm sure they'll be having All In, which, by the way, comes to you next week, and it's going to be fantastic. We have TNA Lockdown later today. I also am a proud member of TNA Plus. I very much appreciate TNA. I don't watch TNA every week because, again, I don't have Sportsnet. That's how we watch it in Canada. But I can watch it through the TNA Plus app. I will be watching TNA Lockdown tonight. So the way I look at things is when I see the news like we've heard this week, Ilya Dragunov no longer employed by WWE due to his contract expiring. Now, I find it very funny to hear how many people have different opinions about what had happened. A lot of people say, oh, how can WWE just let him go? Well, they didn't. In fact, there's multiple reports saying as of June, the two sides were strongly negotiating. So it doesn't sound like WWE wanted to let him go. In fact, it doesn't even sound like the individual wanted to leave. So what happened? We don't know. It's not our jobs to be in the know. It's our jobs to watch the show. Now, I know we all want to know because wrestling fans and people in the business are just curious by nature. And that is completely understandable and accepted. So the big question is, why would WWE want to let him go? I don't know. Why would WWE allow the contract to expire? Why aren't they going harder to make sure it's done? There's multiple sides to this. Could not be just the fact that maybe the individual grew tired of the process, wants a change of scenery, or just wants some time to themselves. I think a lot of people don't understand wrestling is a go, go, go. The schedule is hard. It's not easy. Doesn't give you a lot of alone time. In fact, I remember hearing a old interview with Bondongo, and he said the reason why he thinks there's a lot of dating inside the wrestling business is because you just don't have much of a dating life outside because you don't really have enough time to do so. And the dynamic is very different. Sometimes you're viewed as a rock star in the sense that you're always on the road and you never know what they're doing. And there's a misconception of what they're doing. We got Bobby Stats in the chat saying, "Hello, Chris Parrish, and I just liked the video on YouTube." That's right, everyone. We're on multiple platforms, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Kick, Twitch, or even X. Those are the live platforms. We also are uploaded on TikTok and Spotify. So please make sure you go to all of those platforms, hit the like button, hit the follow, hit the subscribe, hit the share, because it just helps the channel grow. And if you can, if you're on Spotify, rate that episode. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you don't like, because as you see, I'm willing to adapt. So we're talking why WWE and Ilya Dragunov are no longer affiliated with one another. We have CBS Entertainment coming in, saying I'm cleaning my house, listening to the show, but I'm here, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Could Ilya Dragunov get tired of the process? Absolutely. Could WWE honestly just look at Ilya Dragunov and say, we don't know if he is a needle pushing talent? Possibly. There's a lot of people, a lot of true wrestling fans that think the world of Ilya Dragunov, and I'm one of them. I don't understand how you can allow this talent to not have a contract. I understand that there are misses that do happen, but this year alone, we have got indications that WWE is okay if certain talent leave because they have plenty enough on their roster in the system and they'll be just fine. And I strongly do believe that WWE is so deep in talent that almost anyone is expendable, but doesn't mean everyone should be. Bobby Sats coming in saying, imagine if Ilya Dragunov went to Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling and had a match against Josh Alexander or Stu Grayson. We can fantasize about dream matchups, and guess what? They're all going to be good, just like the two mentioned there, Josh Alexander, Stu Grayson. Who wouldn't want to see Ilya Dragunov against either one of those? My reason why I think Ilya Dragunov is in the position he is and that WWE and him are no longer connected is due to a decision that was made to have Ilya Dragunov become United States champion and have a United States Open challenge every week. And I think that was great and bad in the same way. It was great in the sense of we were able to watch, and different audiences were allowed to watch Ilya Dragunov in ring, which is second to none. But where I thought that it didn't work with him is the fact that I strongly believe that in wrestling, the audience will attach themselves, whether it's emotionally, physically, whatever the case may be, to a talent who are in storylines, in angles, in programs, feuds with other people that allow them to go along for the ride. Let me know if you would have loved Stone Cold Steve Austin if he didn't have the Vince McMahon feud. Let me know if you would have loved Stone Cold Steve Austin if he didn't feud against The Rock. Let me know if you would have loved Stone Cold Steve Austin if he only did what? Or because that's the bottom line. You love him because you go through the ride. You went through all of the ups and the downs, and you were able to connect. You found relatability because he was the guy who was anti-authority. And what he said on TV is what you wished you could have got away with in real life. I think the problem with Ilya Dragunov is we never had an honest chance to get to know who he was, because all he was doing on our screens was having wrestling matches. He had the backstage segments, but sometimes they fall flat because they're not right in front of you. They're on a TV, more or less, in the live audience. You want to see how Ilya Dragunov fares when Randy Orton or Seth Rollins, CM Punk interrupt him, or he interrupts them. You want to see them connect, build a story, and then go along and watch how it develops. And I truly believe if that was to happen with Ilya Dragunov, we wouldn't be talking about how he does not have a contract with WWE as of today. If we looked at Ilya Dragunov in a different way, because instead of just seeing great match after great match after great match, we got to see his character develop in front of our eyes so we can emotionally attach with that. Well, then seeing more shirts to buy at shows, more signs in the audience, that organic fan connection, I think we would have been able to say, all right, there is no way Ilya Dragunov is in a position where he needs a contract. So that's my perception of why I think we're in the situation we are in now with Ilya Dragunov and the WWE at a bypass on a contract negotiation. I don't know the specifics. In fact, I don't even know if I need to know the specifics. But what I do need to know is the next step. Are there opportunities for the two sides to reconnect? Or are there going to be an option somewhere else? And that, to me, is the exciting part of pro wrestling, because in the next 7 to 8 days, we have a TNA show, we have a WWE show, we have a AAA show, we have an NXT show, we have an AEW show, and we all know that there are a lot of indies that run. Ilya Dragunov has no contract. He's not under a 60, 90 day, 30 day no compete clause. There's none of that. If Ilya Dragunov wants to go to AEW tonight, he can. So that would be the interesting part about this whole thing, is that you don't have to wait. Bobby Sat's coming in saying, who would I like to see against Ilya Dragunov? Well, it depends what company. If it's MLW, Karrion Kross. If it's AEW, and it's just hard hitting, nothing, give me Briscoe. But if it's in a match to help make him bigger, give me MJF. If he was to go to NXT, Cruz Montana, easily. Zilla Fatu would be right there as well. But if I was to say, put him in TNA, Bear Bronson. I think that would be a fun match. So I'll be watching TNA Lockdown tonight, and I'm going to be very interested if we see an Ilya Dragunov appearance. Let me know in the chat where you think Ilya Dragunov shows up next. Is it an independent promotion? Is it total nonstop action? Is it all Elite Wrestling, or does he return to the World Wrestling Entertainment? Bobby Stats coming in saying he likes to see Dragunov go up against Leon Slater or Ricky Sosa in TNA. So let me know in the comments what you think. Give me your opinion. And right now we're going to take a little ad over to turnbucklestudios.org and let me know if you like what you see when we go shopping.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at turnbucklestudios.org.
That's right. There's a lot of things you can do on the website at turnbucklestudios.org, and going to our shop and checking out what we have in that catalog is just one of them. Please search through everything, and if you want to buy one of those beautiful Chris Parrish podcast t-shirts or hoodies or paraphernalia, let me know. Let me know by photo, and I'll give you a free shout out on the show. Maybe, just maybe, with your permission, we'll add you in the next advertisement video. When's that happening? We don't have answers. So as we go from Ilya Dragunov onwards, we did get somebody being welcomed into the WWE this week. And that was through our fan favorite Shinsuke Nakamura. That's right. On SmackDown, we saw Nakamura unveil his new mystery partner. And it's who we all know as Hiromu Takahashi. But in WWE, he will be now going by the name Kiyoki. Now, this isn't a show for me to let you know what Kiyoki means. You got Google. You got the internet. You have fun with that. But what I do like about this is that now we have a new tag team in the scenes. We have Shinsuke Nakamura and Kiyoki as they embark on a journey to go after the MFTs and their newly won tag team championships. After a match where the MFT, defeated Damian Priest and R-Truth in a title rematch following their triple threat tag team title win, we now know that R-Truth and Damian Priest are more likely going to be away from the tag team title picture for the foreseeable future. So we need to bring something in. And now here comes Shinsuke Nakamura and Kiyoki. Now, the reason why I like this is we've been saying for months now, the tag team division in WWE is not as exciting as it should be. It looks like some revamped refresh is happening right in front of our eyes, but to what extent? You let go one team in Damian Priest and R-Truth, then you bring another in? Okay, you haven't made any progress, so what are we doing? And I think that can be something to really be concerned about. But if what we're watching is the genesis of that refresh, of that reboot, then okay. This is why we watch, because sometimes we just don't know all the answers. But what we do know is that we have someone new. So what's going to be the presentation of Kiyoki? What's going to be the music? How is he going to translate to the audience? How is he going to be? And then you want to ask the dynamic with how is he with Shinsuke Nakamura? Is this going to go to something more? Are we going to see Shinsuke bring in more people from his neck of the woods, kind of like what we've seen with the Bloodline? We all know that Naraku in NXT is right there. Is he somebody that could come up and align himself with Kiyoki and Shinsuke? That is something that we're going to have to ask ourselves down the road. But let me know your thoughts on Takahashi, now known as Kiyoki, debuting in WWE under the SmackDown brand alongside Shinsuke Nakamura. Clearly, they're going to go after the MFTs. But I'm always wondering, then what? How is this tag team picture going to be moving forward? And we all know that there are the rumors that there could be talent exchanges between Raw and SmackDown in the upcoming months. We can talk ad nauseum about what tag team should be moved from Raw to SmackDown or SmackDown to Raw. But I think I'm going to just commit on this train of thought and say, if what you do on the men's side always is replicated on the women's side with championships, then how about we have a title unification match with the tag team titles, and we have one set of men tag team titles that go on all brands just like the women's? If you want to strengthen your tag team division up, why do you reduce it with more titles? We all know that the 4.5 hours of Raw and SmackDown a week, that's a lot of TV time. But then when you start putting in the people wanting to tell the stories, you start taking away the time pretty quickly. So my question is, how much of that time is being allotted to tag team and men's tag team wrestling? And if the answer isn't a lot, then why do we have two sets of tag team titles? Why can't we just combine these titles and say, you know what? We don't have a strong tag team division throughout both brands. So let's stop trying to force feed a division when we can just isolate the titles and then create a larger one throughout the whole thing. Because once again, if by chance you want, you could always put people like Rey Fenix and Penta together, and there's a tag team right there. You can always start executing the Usos more and more as a tag team. They're right there. But then you got tag teams like Fraxium, like the Creed brothers, who aren't very active. You could bring back Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate and the New Catch Republic. Those are 3 teams right there. You then have your MFTs. You then have your Visions, which I'm certain that as soon as Logan Paul is healthy again, he and Austin Theory will once again team up. So there's 5 more. Will JD and Dom start becoming a tag team on Raw? I think they should. There could be another one. And then you always have to wonder what other people can be there. Like, do you continue on with The Miz and Kit Wilson? So there's always something you can do. Bubba Duke coming in saying, I believe that if they follow the women's tag team division, it will work one title for both brands. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Simplify the titles to expand the division. So, to me, I think that's just a simple fix. You don't have to do too much. And you can have a hell of a ladder match or a hell of a unification match. Whatever you want to do. It would be a lot of fun. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. What should the WWE do with the tag team division? And do you think the debut of Kyoki alongside Shinsuke Nakamura is a step in the right direction for the WWE's tag team division? I don't think there's much more that needs to be said because we can talk at length about the performer of Takahashi. We could talk in so much length about the expectation of Kyoki. But what we do know is that there is still uncertainty within the tag team division. And what we do know is, as fans, as viewers, as an audience, we don't want there to be one, man. We just want you to figure this out. We've seen a lot of these tag teams that we love. Motor City Machine Guns, the New Day, gone. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention the War Raiders are still there. So what are we doing? Maybe, just maybe, WWE, you need to go to turnbucklestudios.org. You need to check out the join function because just maybe, you need to find yourself some help.
A Turnbuckle affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, video games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
Next week, said last week that we will be doing a watch party for NXT Heatwave. Don't be afraid. It is going to be a lot of fun. We are going to do a little bit of, let's say, predictions for that show. So let's get into our NXT Heatwave predictions, shall we? We got a lot of matches. Not like 13 or 14 or something crazy like that. No. But right now, every match on the show is a title match. In fact, we even have a title versus title match. As we all know, the women's speed title will no longer be existing after Heatwave. So let's get into these matches, shall we? We got Miles Bourne doing double duty as a double champion. I'm not going to lie. If you're going to put 2 titles on one guy, yeah, let's make them work. I like that. So let's start off as he's battling everyone in Vanity Project. Because for the North American title, Miles Bourne is taking on Jackson Drake. And I think this is the best time. The best time to have the Vanity Project in the form of Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes. And then you got Lockwood in there in the corner of Vanity Project. Use the numbers game to defeat Miles Bourne and steal that North American title. I love this. For the sole point is now you have a reason to why you can do something to Miles Bourne without making him look bad, but because he has multiple matches that night, you could really make the Vanity Project a smart, effective, absolutely entertaining part of your show by using the numbers games, using the advantage to their, like, just using everything to their advantage, more or less. Sorry. And I think this is a great time to put the title on Jackson Drake, have that kind of, I don't want to say swan song, but that finale of the North American title with Miles Bourne, because I do think it's time for Miles Bourne to take that next leap into the NXT title picture. So I have Jackson Drake taking the North American title, but I'm going right from that match to the tag team titles match, because if all of Vanity Product are in the ring, well, then you have to have Tavian Heights coming out to try to save Miles Bourne from a big beatdown. Because then Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes of Vanity Project, they're going after the tag team championships. So right there, you can have one match lead into another. Now Miles Bourne has to pick himself back up because he just lost one championship. I think right now, you take the shot with Vanity Project. We all know that Bourne and Heights took the titles off them. And I say this is the right time to put them back on. Maybe, just maybe, you can go into a Miles Bourne Tavian Heights feud after. They could have some dysfunction. But I don't think you're going to keep them as a tag team for very long. In fact, I do think they're a stopgap. So, even if you don't want to continue with the Miles Heights feud after, what you could do is have them look for some assistance to go up against the Vanity Project. And I wouldn't hate that at all. But I think this is the right time to pull the trigger on Vanity Project as a whole. Jackson Drake, your new North American champion. Brad Baylor, Ricky Smokes, become your new tag team champions. Why not? Let me know in the chat what you would do with this. And then next up, we got a pair of women matches. We got a title versus title match as the women's speed champion Ren Sinclair takes on the women's North American champion in Zarya. And I think this match on paper looks like a very simple Zarya is going to have her way with Ren Sinclair, right? But if you haven't been watching, Ren Sinclair has been impressing everyone in the ring. I mean, she's with Kendall Gray, your current NXT Women's Champion, and you have to think that this is a situation where Ren Sinclair maybe shows Kendall Gray how to be a little bit more out of your shell, while Kendall Gray teaches Ren Sinclair how to be better in ring. And I like that dynamic, but I still think this is the right time for Zarya to be that powerhouse and to take that championship away from Ren Sinclair. We've already been talking about no more women's speed title. So let's have Zarya be that one to squash it. And then, even if you want, I think you can still come back with another match like this. Because I think the sympathy and the story then really is on Ren Sinclair. You want to see how she picks herself up and comes back. And I think there's plenty of options for Zarya post Heatwave with this title. And that could be a very fun thing to do. In fact, you could say she beat one, and then after she could go after Kendall Gray, if Kendall Gray is to retain her championship. Then we go to the NXT Women's Championship. Kendall Gray going up against Kalani Jordan. Now, this match has a little bit of a twist. Because if I'm not mistaken, this match could become a triple threat match. So I think we have to watch this week's version of NXT to find out. Because I do believe that we have someone who... This is why, Bobby, I need your help here. In fact, you know what? We're going to make this a little thing where I'm going to make this my W moment where I tag you in to let me know who this person could be. So that's right. Presented by W.GG. If you want a good tag team partner like the Chris Parrish podcast has with W, then let me know by using that promo code Parrish10 on checkout. W.GG, the proud tag team partner of the Chris Parrish podcast. So yeah. But let's right now just assume that it's going to stay a singles match, shall we? So what do we have? We have Kalani Jordan, the inaugural Women's NXT North American champion, really looking to find her footing in this division. She seems to be kind of really right there in the middle of everything, but never kind of going for something to... she's never really in the hunt. She's always being a hunter, I'll say. So the big question for me is, do we see an upset? Because, I mean, we are talking about someone that has done a lot. Like, Kalani Jordan is no one to laugh at in NXT. But again, she falls into this category of just not having enough people to feud with. And then when she does, there's always a little gap in between. But now that she has this opportunity to go after the championship, you wonder if this is the time to pull the trigger. But then you're thinking, okay, well, you're up against one of the best technical wrestlers on the NXT women's side. Kendall Gray, I don't think shocked the world. I think she just did what a lot of people expected her to do. She defeated Lola Vice. She came back, defeated Lola Vice in the underground match. She shocked everyone with how tough she was. And I think she continues to impress people with the just the dynamic of being champion. So I do think this is the right move to have Kendall Gray remain your NXT Women's Champion. I do expect a great match. In fact, I do think this is sadly the time where you have the tap out, that submission victory for Kendall Gray. But if this is to become a triple threat match and Kelly Armstrong is going to get added into this match, I do think that changes that dynamic, and I wouldn't be surprised if the decision is to make Kelly Armstrong in some way, shape, or form the next big threat to Kendall Gray, with either her being a serious, impressive force in this triple threat, or actually winning the championship and being that hurdle that Kendall Gray has problem jumping over. So if this match remains a singles match, I do have Kendall Gray. If this match becomes a triple threat with Kelly Armstrong, I'm going to say, for the sake of NXT programming, Kendall Gray still pulls out the win, and we just go to Kendall Gray and Kelly Armstrong next. But I'd be very, very intrigued with the Kelly Armstrong involvement. And this leads us to our main event match, or in my eyes, it's the main event match. Tony D'Angelo defends his NXT championship in a fatal four-way match against Cruz Montana, the former Mike Santana, the newly acquired NXT Grayson Waller, and the newly signed Zilla Fought 2. Now, the one thing I will say about this match, everyone's going to bring it. We all saw that amazing debut of Zilla Fought 2 a couple weeks ago, but the match between Montana and Waller that was happening was hard-hitting, it was good-paced, and why shouldn't it be? AJ Styles was producing it. And we all know that Cruz Montana can go. He's a former TNA world champion multiple times. And he is by far the most experienced one in this match. So he has something to prove for sure. Zilla Fought 2 wants to make his mark in WWE, in NXT. So he has something to prove. And Grayson Waller wants to reclaim a division. He wants to make the men's division matter. He wants to take the NXT division over. So you bet he has something to prove. And then Tony D'Angelo wants to beat everyone and be a dominant champion the way guys like Braun Breaker was, the guys like Oba Femi was. So yeah, he wants to be the best by beating the best. So he has something to prove. So the big question is, who walks out NXT champion? I think that's the big question. And I'm going to go with Tony D'Angelo. I'm keeping the title on Tony D'Angelo. And in fact, I do think he defeats Grayson Waller to retain the title. And the big question I have, what do you do next? Do you go into a feud with Montana? Do you go into a feud with Zilla Fought 2? Because just because somebody wins, they only beat one person. So there's two other people they did not beat. But I also have to wonder, how could anyone in this match afford a loss? I just don't see anyone coming out of this unscathed. And I think that's the big one coming in this match. I've been saying I did not want to see Zilla Fatu add in this match. In fact, I wanted him to be like a special enforcer to this match. And then you say I got next after. But nonetheless, here we are. Would I be a fan of Zilla Fatu walking in first match, boom, new NXT champion? Absolutely. Nobody's done that. The quickest person to win the NXT title since joining NXT was Ethan Page. And I think it was, 30 or 60 days? Something like that. It's either 1 or 2 months exactly where he became champion. But we all remember the times like Carlito debuts on SmackDown, wins the U.S. title on his first match. We remember when Christian on his first match wins the light heavyweight championship. Yeah, that's a throwback. Remember when Santino wins the Intercontinental? Those are moments. So Zilla Fatu walking in first match, taking that championship, that would be a moment. But imagine if Cruz Montana wins the NXT title, starts the year as TNA champion, could end the year as NXT champion. That'd be crazy. That would be absolutely crazy. So let me know who you think is walking out of Heatwave, your NXT champion. And Heatwave once again comes to you at next week, August 30th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I do want to let everybody know that this is a Chris Parrish exclusive, so it will be only on my socials, where you can find on my link tree at Chris Parrish. Do want to let everybody know that despite the fact that the NXT watch party for Heatwave might be Chris Parrish exclusive, that doesn't mean all the other programming is too. So please check out all of our programming here on Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program with this calendar video. And I will say, coming up, we will be seeing Sunday night's main event for September 6th. So that will be something that is coming to you. So we will let you know if that changes any scheduled programming.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday night we are on call as the Raw Patrol is on duty at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursdays let us power your dreams with the Xbox Showcase at 9 p.m. Friday we invite you to come for a ride with the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. And later in the day, the Locker Room presents Wrestling Recap delivers at 7 p.m. Always be aware that weekend shows can vary in times, as the PLE Patrol and other watch party streams are always a must-see. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day, and watch all of the latest episodes on turnbucklestudios.org/shows. And please do not forget to drop a like, follow, and to subscribe to all of our channels, and when the time is right, all you have to do is tap in.
So with that being said, a lot of things to think about from this week in WWE. Whether it's where do we go next with the Ilya Dragunov story, or how do we welcome in Kyoki? It is about what goes in and what goes out. Sometimes you got to change the way you go about it. Sometimes you got to change the way you think. And that's why paradigm shift is very important when it comes to watching professional wrestling. This has been episode 142 of the Chris Parrish podcast, but let's not forget that next week we're back with episode 143, and we're going to title that Center stage. That's right. Yes, there's going to be no change next week to the Chris Parrish podcast, but what we will have is almost an immediate coming back with that NXT Heat Wave watch party. So let's not forget that we're on center stage. It's almost like we're a pre-show for ourselves. So gonna be a lot of fun, but we are going to talk some Sunday night's main event. And maybe I will talk a little bit about what happened on tonight's TNA Lockdown. But before all of that, we're going to open up to a little bit of open discussion here on the Chris Parrish podcast, where I do take some crowd and an audience question. So if there's anything, this is your time to say it. If not, I'm going to talk about something that did catch my eye as well this past week in professional wrestling. And that is SmackDown's final moments. We saw in Toronto Kevin Owens versus CM Punk for the undisputed heavyweight title. Great match until we saw Sami Zayn involved. And there's been a lot of speculation of whether or not we needed more Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Because just when the opportunity came, Sami Zayn tried to help Kevin Owens. And then when that didn't work, because the first attempt, Kevin Owens wasn't really aware of what has happened. But then when Sami Zayn tried to give the championship to Kevin Owens to use, Kevin Owens said no, and then got clocked for his trouble. This allowed CM Punk to take the opportunity to win the match, and then Sami Zayn then took the opportunity to beat up both men. Clearly making a stand that Sami Zayn wants the championship, and he doesn't care now who he has to beat up. He doesn't care about who he has to go through to get it. Whether it's somebody that he doesn't like in CM Punk or somebody he thinks of a best friend, like a brother in Kevin Owens. So I get why Sami Zayn does this. The fact that it's Kevin Owens is just an unfortunate reality. But the big question is, if CM Punk didn't like the way he retained the title at SummerSlam, with Randy Orton helping him in, how can he like the way he retained the title on SmackDown when Sami Zayn clearly was involved and dictated the finish there? If you're Kevin Owens, are you conflicted on what to do next because you know you were cheated out of your championship match, but then also you're feeling very betrayed with the way it happened with Sami Zayn being the one who did it? So do I think we're going to go back to a triple threat match? We very well could. But when you then mix the possibilities of Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, and then think there could be Gunther, there could be Finn Balor, maybe even Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona took a big step a couple weeks ago. All I can say is, like, this is a very overpopulated main event picture and could be. I think I'm here for it. So let me know what you think of the finale of SmackDown, because I think there's more to it than what we see. I think a lot of people are just simply looking at Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and the black and white of that and getting a little bit, not this again. We don't hate it, but we just don't need it again. I think there's more to it than that, and I'm very intrigued to see how it's presented when we come back with SmackDown. this Friday. So until then, I'll let everybody know this has been episode 142 of the Chris Parrish Podcast, Paradigm Shift. Let me know what you think. But until then, I'm going to say goodbye and see you next week. But before that, be happy, be healthy, but more important, be yourself. Because at the end of every day, you matter.
Rip through the clouds, faster, catch us from falling.